Good morning. Happy Friday. It is a gorgeous Friday out there. Hopefully you get to enjoy this spring-like weather. Today is part 2 of our roundup of the kinds of decisions, the decisions that council is considering making. And I say that because the Committee of the Whole is the meeting that happens first on the second Wednesday of every month, first, before the council decides what to put on the agenda to make decisions and take votes around on their regular council meeting, typically the fourth Wednesday of the month. And so there was a council meeting on Wednesday. Yesterday, I went through a couple of things. We talked about burn bans and just being careful around burning and how the province is stipulating rural ward versus urban ward and things like that. Go back if that is a riveting topic for you. But the fire chief did want us to definitely get the word out that it is time to be careful around burning here. And then we talked about the CAO's report. Again, the CAO manages all the staff of the town. The council decides what to do on your behalf, and the staff implements how to do it. And so in the Committee of the Whole meeting, all the department heads and directors of the different departments of the staff will file a report and report directly to council to talk about things they've been working on, concerns they have, and things like that. So we're moving through here. I am always trying to make sure these videos are not too long, but sometimes there's not a natural break. And so we'll just see what happens here, but I will make sure to be as brief as I can while also filling you in on important things that are up for consideration so that you can be informed as a resident, know what's happening. And now a lot of these decisions are actually starting to kind of bump up against the next council. Election day is May 11th. I am running for mayor, and I hope to be able to continue to do this for you before and after every single one of our meetings. And, you know, from an inside perspective, right now I'm on the outside, but from an inside perspective, kind of share with you why we are voting a certain way, why council decided something. Again, remember, there's no I in council, even the mayor. The mayor is just a member of council. The mayor brings leadership to council, and the mayor chairs the meetings, but the mayor also is expected to speak to the council, make recommendations based on their relationship with the CAO, and then share what is being decided on council and how the group is moving in a direction to serve you and hopefully execute on your priorities as residents. And so I literally just described the job description of the mayor there. And number 5, of course, is just other duties as council decides, like signing clerk things and going to events and things like that. But that's literally, as you decide who to vote for mayor, I think it's best for you to decide who is studying the issues, who has been going to council meetings, who is able to communicate to you the information and is willing to be on here explaining to you as a resident what decisions are being made and why. All right, let's move on to some of the reports now. We talked about the CAO report. Now, the deputy CAO report, that is Sean, also the fire chief. He wears a few hats, public works and things like that. So you can check out his report and I told you how to do that 2 days ago, how to pull up these reports. A couple of things that I want to highlight. All his activities and the activities of his staff are accounted for here. And again, he has a supervisor. So his resource staff is Supervisor 2, Supervisor 1, Treatment Plant Operator, Dillon Engineering, Bylaw Enforcement Officer, Building Inspector, and Animal Control Officer. If you're wondering who the staff is for the Deputy CAO and who he oversees. Now, there are some things that were done for Public Works, but I really want to focus on his activities as the Director of Infrastructure Activities, because that is how we learn what is, like, kind of how things work. And one thing I wanted to draw your attention to is the E11 files. E11 is the service by which residents can report anything and everything, any concern they have, okay? And so I want to do a little bit more detail on that. because I really believe that St. Stephen needs to improve its service, great town. That's what I'd love to see. And right now, as I knock on doors, residents aren't sure how to file a complaint, or when they do, you know, when you submit a complaint or a concern or an issue, whether it's a pothole or a barking dog or an abandoned car, something like that, you submit it and you wonder if anybody ever saw it. Well, I do want to let you know that this is handled by the staff, the public works staff, who will show up at a place, reach back out to you. And so when you see that, you know, kind of on the task list, the E11 files have been dealt with, that's important for you to know as a resident. Now, he also talked about the drinking water contingency plan updates. I did talk about that when I did a water series. The worst case scenario, if all our water systems were to fail, knock on wood, right, is taking water from the river and all the structure around that. We have a 2-day a lagoon, that a reservoir rather, a reserve water supply. If we had the main systems fail, then we would use that 2-day reserve. And then if that failed, then we would be pulling water from the river. That's our super last-ditch emergency plan. And of course, that had to be applied to and approved by the province. It would not be potable water, drinkable water. It would just basically be coming from the taps so we could continue to have water throughout the municipality. Of course, this is more the urban ward. Rural wards typically have their own wells and things like that. In almost every case. And so this was something that was mentioned as a major priority, and it's just a good thing to have that checked off on the list. The dock apartments where the new build is going on at the former site of the Border Arena, he mentioned that as they tie in the new lines to service that building, the water lines, there may trigger a boil water order. That would just be for Kings Court, that area, because it would stir up some of the water supply there, and the things would have to get filtered out and settle down again. So, that's part of putting in new infrastructure and a new development. So Kings Court residents needed to be looking for that. Now, another thing that I want to draw your attention to that he did mention, it is in the report. If you're ever wondering about kind of fundraising money, when there are fundraising activities for the fire department, what happens with that? How is it used? And he emphasized here that for the fire department, they were able to purchase new thermal imaging cameras for Engine 202. And so that is a major development, really helps to fight fires and keep us safe. And then new wildland firefighting boots were purchased for all the volunteers. And so if you're ever wondering, hey, does this money make a difference? Does it do anything? We got everything from thermal imaging cameras to pinpoint fires and know exactly how to fight it, to just better boots for our volunteer firefighters. And there are so many volunteer firefighters. I'm meeting a lot of them as I knock on doors. We're thankful for their service, and we definitely want to make sure they are properly outfitted as they get that work done that is so critical to a safe community. So that was the Deputy CAO report. Next, I want to move into Parks and Community Services. Some really exciting things here. The lighting project that is going up along the trail, that was $20,000. I talked about the BIA last week. This is in concurrence with the BIA, the municipality and the BIA teaming up, looking for grants, putting their money together. And so that was a total of $20,000 of fundraising for solar lights. The Rotary Club, of which I'm a proud member, is also kicking in $8,000 for 2 more lights. So we're looking at, I believe, a total project cost of $40,000. Again, as a Rotary Club member, I'm aware that the lights were $4,000 each. They do need to be industrial level. They need to make sure that they can withstand all the elements and things like that. And so those are going to start going in. A really exciting development in terms of the Civic Center. The Spartan Cheer Elite Cheerleading Club applied to host the 2027 provincials and it was granted again. So that is something, I mean, you want to see activity happening at the Garcelon Civic Center. So congrats to the Spartan Cheerleading Club. And once again, we will have people from all over the province right here in town. Again, this is why we want to see the hotel as a priority. That is something that I'm hearing from the community. We want to see that through to the end of the building process. But I also talked about how there are a lot of more events that we will be able to host at the Garcelon Civic Center when we have a hotel. This is an example of when an organization places a bid on an event. In this case, apparently, they did not need accommodations as part of the criteria of that bid, but there are a lot of organizations that want to bid on an event. Say, come to St. Stephen so that we can host you and have it here. Well, sometimes the criteria is what accommodations are there in town. And when we say, well, there is no major hotel, we can't accommodate right here in town, then a lot of the time those bids are not approved. So that is just one way that we'll get more economic activity for businesses and restaurants and tax base and all that stuff when we have a hotel here in town. Lots of other good things here in this report. I just wanted to highlight on asset management that is happening. Jeremy started a 16-week asset management course. This is now being required by the province for municipalities to have a sense of their asset inventory, what needs to be worked on, the total value of these things. And so again, this is a 16-week intensive course. And so this identifies levels of service, risk management, conditions assessments, climate change related to the change of assets in the long term. And so again, the government of New Brunswick, the province, wants to see every municipality have a better handle on its asset inventory and asset management. It helps us make better decisions as a council around what needs to be replaced, what needs to be focused on, and just that horizon, right? When you see, and I've talked about this before, when you see pipes bursting and boil water orders and roads falling apart, that is a real concrete, pardon the pun, indication that there has not been this kind of visioning, this kind of horizon, this kind of saying, okay, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, what do we need to be doing? Now, we just had an assessment on our water system, and this is something that we need to keep an eye on and improve. But again, the water system is paid for only by people who are using the water system. If you get a utility bill, you're paying into that water system. That does not come from general taxes. That is not even legal in New Brunswick. So we're learning as we go exactly how things are funded and exactly how to set goals going out. All right, that is all I want to cover for today. Again, lots of good things happening, but you can read those reports. Those were the highlights that were mentioned in the meeting. And Kevin Sumner, the director, also just mentioned, please keep your ATVs off the ball fields and, don't be tearing up the grass. That's really hard for us to repair. So if you do see something like that, it would be appreciated that you report it. These are, again, assets that all of us share, and we want to see them taken care of. And also the skate park will start to go in at the chosen zone, the area that was voted on by the community and appreciated by the skateboarders, kind of behind the basketball court and game time, that area. And so that'll start going in when the weather permits. Which, when you're talking about a day like today, the weather is starting to permit. All right, that's enough for this. We'll talk more tomorrow as we move through these reports, and I look forward to be able to continue to do this with you. BuildUpStStephen.ca. You can check out my priorities, my commitments, how we're going to move through an action plan together. I want to be leading a council that you trust, building a home that we are proud of, and sharing an action plan that we all understand. I'm going to go door knocking today. Hope you get to enjoy the beautiful weather. I'll see you tomorrow.